So the first item is the public hearing. So since the first part of the public hearing is to show everything to the public, we can probably start with that. And then Andrea will be here for the discussion of it. She said she'll just be here in a couple minutes. So Joe, do you want to, oh, sorry, Al, would you like to call the meeting to order?
Okay, if you wish. I'm calling the meeting to order. With that, we'll turn it over to Joe Thompson, who will take us through. We'll start with 61 Paulding Avenue. Joe, if you can go ahead and now, are we going to use Joe's I guess computer?
Yeah, Joe, you can share everything that you have to present.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Joseph Thompson, architect, representing the updated applications for 61 and 63 Paulding Avenue, which are the remaining parts of the Butterfield development to complete the residential homes along that street. If I could screen share now, I'll pull up some of the drawings we have. So this is the prior approved landscaping plan and site plan for the development. The two homes we're reviewing tonight are 61 and 63 Paulding, which are furthest from the corner of Route 9. 65 Paulding was approved last year and is currently under construction. When we first brought the project back to the board, we took a second look at the overall composition of the block and tried to develop an improved scheme that would help to alternate and differentiate the three houses from each other while also having a good level of cohesion between the three. So again, 65 Paulding currently under construction is on the left, and 61 and 63 Paulding in the center and on the right. To start with 61 Paulding, lot 1. This was based off of a similar prior approved rendering. This house actually deviates more from the original rendering than lot 2, as it was found to be beneficial to alternate from the large single front facing gable to the dual gable format that is proposed for lot 2 on the next presentation, back to another larger single gable facing Paulding. So what we tried to do is, while we revisited that composition and also ensured that the garage was on the left-hand side to present the house towards the pathway that connects to Butterfield Park, is to incorporate some of the elements that were in the prior approved facade, the 6/6 paned windows, an archtop window, similar grills in the garage door, and generally the overall massing of the house. Just to scroll through the floor plans, it's a single family home similar to the other house that was previously approved, and this lot is also prior approval. The side elevations of the house as they're presented from the pathway that leads to the park, which would be this facade, and then also the opposite side, which presents itself towards Route 9 on the right-hand side. The rear of the house, very similar to what was previously approved, although we added a projecting double grand bay window that serves the living room and the foundation below, and otherwise kept most of the original composition intact. So if the board would like, I could either present the drawings for 63 or finish the presentation for 61 with the material palette.
Go ahead and finish 61. We're going to take a vote for each one separately rather than combine. Obviously, when there are actual buyers, or if they're going to be owned separately, so I'd rather keep the applications separate.
Understood. Material palette, very similar to the house that was just recently approved last year. So that way, again, there'll be a good level of unity and cohesion between the three. An architectural roof shingle. The windows are still traditional style windows with simulated divided lights, with a proposed change in manufacturer from Geldwin to Marvin, which I think would be an upgrade. Also upgrades the cladding from a vinyl clad to an aluminum clad. Including higher definition on the simulated divided lights, as there's a few additional options available. Front entrance doors proposed as solid wood with a 9-light pattern that we think complements the windows. Garage doors similar to the prior house are a carriage style door. And what we selected were a paned window top to again complement the front door, and the double hung windows of 6/6s. For the horizontal exterior surfaces, similar to the last house, also presenting Trex decking, mainly for durability purposes. Foundation coating in the back where it's exposed, and we've limited that to some extent by stepping down the height of the wall as it tiers along the side elevation, and also steps down to a full frame floor with siding at the back of the walkout. Harged finish Thorocoat, Thoroseal waterproofing. Exterior lighting and sconces would be a historic traditional style light. Dark bronze finish. Same for the door hardware. And same for the gutters. Traditional half round type gutter with a dark bronze finish again, and round style leaders as opposed to square. So that's the entire material palette and the drawings for the house. And at this point, I'm supposed to turn back over to the board for discussion.
Okay. I guess this is a public hearing, so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and open it up to public comment. And I guess once you show on the screen the three units side by side, the right. So this is we're talking about lot 1 or lot 2? Lot 1, right?
Lot 1, correct.
Okay. So with that, we'll open it up to comment from the public. And please address your comments to the board. And if you could identify who you are, the speaker, and where you reside. So with that, I'll look for people who would like to provide comment. Going once. Going twice. Okay. All right. With that, I'll close the public comment on this particular application. One of the things which we as a board should talk about is that the public notice got in today's Putnam County News, but didn't get into the current. Do we want to keep this open for a week afterwards for any written comment? I'll open it up to board members to see their thoughts. Since you're up on top, Todd, we'll start with you. Do you see a need to keep the comment period open?
I would only see a need if it did not interrupt any plans on the architect or the development's part. I don't really think it's necessary personally.
Well, not necessarily that. I mean, if the comment period stays open, then we really can't vote on the application tonight.
Then-
Can I, oh, sorry, Todd.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, in my opinion, because I know Todd is still kind of new to this. The PCNR, we only added the Highlands Current as the paper record recently. People traditionally have looked to the PCNR for these notices. So I feel pretty comfortable going ahead and closing public comment because of that tradition.
Okay,
Also,
Lloyd?
the
Yeah,
neighbors were notified and the site sign was also in place too. I just want everyone to be aware of that.
Okay.
I feel comfortable with that too, and I don't think the proposals are, that dissimilar to stuff we've approved, to the one we approved before at 65. So
Okay.
we've talked about it
So,
before, and I see the comments that we made before addressed. So
all right. So with that, we'll close public comment on 61 Paulding Avenue, and I'll open that up to questions or comments from the board members.
I'm just wondering, I might have missed it as I'm trying to get some nutrition here today. Sorry about that. Did we talk about the trim and the siding earlier, Joe?
If I skipped that, I apologize. It is the cedar siding, cedar trim. So again, similar to 65, true wood exterior.
For the trim and the siding, both? Okay. So what are could you just elaborate on the differences between this and 65 other than the windows? Did I miss anything? Is it just the windows?
Just the windows, just a manufacturer change. I'd consider it an upgrade from Geldwin to Marvin. That actually clads in aluminum as opposed to vinyl and offers a stronger grille definition.
No, it does look better to me.
An improvement.
And Joe, were the windows, I think that the windows and the rest of the Butterfield in the condos, those were Geldwin, right?
Those were Geldwin, correct?
Okay, so yeah, that's a nice upgrade.
It is. I guess I should add
Okay.
that the plans are a little bit different, of course, in the elevations, and there's no pergola on the back, which is fine.
Okay. With that, I'll ask, I don't think we've taken a vote on the seeker status. Do I have a motion concerning the seeker status?
I'd move to make it a type 2 because it is a residential structure under the size threshold.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. With that, would anybody like to make any statements or ask any other questions concerning 61?
We have to vote on the secret.
Oh, okay. So we have a motion. That's very good. Very good. Keep me honest.
I am the vice chair.
Good catch, Sean.
So we have a motion that the secret status be type 2. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? So secret status type 2 has been voted. Are there any last comments or questions concerning the application as submitted?
I just want to say that I think that the applicant has been very cooperative and responsive to all of the feedback, and ultimately, I think that both 61 and 63 are a good addition to the streetscape, and I'm in support of the application.
I would
Okay.
second. I agree. I'm comforted too by what we're seeing at 65, which I think has developed nicely, is coming together nicely in terms of many regards, scale, materiality, siding. So I support the application too.
All right, with that, we'll now take a vote on the application, starting with Andrea.
Oh, I'm not sure whether to say this is amended
No, the way it's submitted.
as submitted. Okay. I vote in favor to accept this application as submitted.
Okay, Sean,
I will second that vote. I mean, that motion, rather.
I'm sorry, that motion, I'm sorry.
okay, with that, let's take a vote on the application. Andrea?
I will make a motion to accept the application as submitted.
Okay.
I will
And-
second that
se-
motion.
Okay, now we're going to take a vote. Todd, we'll start with you.
I'll vote to approve.
Lloyd,
I vote to approve it also.
Sean,
Approve.
Andrea?
Aye.
Aye, okay. It was approved 5-0 for the minutes. Okay, with that, let's move on to lot 2, which is the center lot. So if you could, Joe, if you could describe, any differences between this and the other two buildings. And when we get into the materials, if you could just point out any differences from what was previously approved this evening.
Certainly, and thank you again. So lot 2 is much more closely in keeping with the original approved design. Very little change and deviation from that. The overall difference is obviously the composition. It's a dual facing gable as opposed to a large single gable. To get into the details of the plan a little bit more, this was the originally approved version, and this is our current proposal at the top. And the only main difference is that the overall composition has been mirrored. And the main reason for that is that there's a deck and outdoor living space in the back that when we do that, it offers a better degree of buffer and privacy from lot 1, which we just reviewed. Otherwise, essentially it's the same. The only aesthetic difference is that we did away with the tapered Doric style columns, which seemed a little bit maybe a little bit large and awkward for the house, and maybe a little bit out of character with the more Victorian type nature of some of the diamond trim accents in the gables and the bracketing. So we changed those out for more of a standard traditional column that's built out with a base and a capital and chamfered edges, which I think is more fitting with the overall composition. The garage door we changed in the front door as well to provide a light pattern in the front door that, again, I think better complements the windows, the 4/1s. And same for the garage door. We thought that might be interesting to vary the overall composition of the door that was a little bit different, that didn't have lights and that maybe spoke more to the light pattern in the windows than some of the others, just to try to, again, to differentiate these houses a bit. Floor plans, again, very similar to the prior house, except we have the undulating facade and the projections to create those dual gables. Side elevations, almost identical to the prior house. We did incorporate some of the additional windows as on the last application up in the master bedroom to help infill this facade and create a better overall composition that's a little bit more balanced. And rear facade, very similar again with the 2-story grand bay in the back and the outdoor living space that wraps around the corner. And again, the reason for that mirroring of the overall layout is that it separates the 2 outdoor living spaces by better measure, which will just make them feel a little bit more private, I think, for the future residents. Details which we've reviewed before, similar to the Sherman residence, traditional trimmed windows. We didn't cover this on the last one, but same Same style, 1x4 casings with drip caps and traditional style projecting sills. And then the material palette, again, I can scroll through, but actually the same as the last house. So architectural roof shingles, cedar siding, cedar trim, cedar railings.
Yeah, Joe, I mean, can you just highlight any differences?
There are none.
Okay.
Material palette would be identical as proposed.
Okay. I think,
It's
Does
just the
any-
composition of the front door and the garage door
Right.
that is as drawn.
And then the light pattern in the windows as well.
do I have a motion concerning the seeker status?
I would also make a motion to accept this as type 2. Again, it's a residential structure under the size threshold.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
All in favor of type 2 status?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approved 5-0. With that, I'll open to any questions or comments. Well, okay, we have the secret status. I now open it up for public comment. Does anybody or would anybody like to make a comment concerning the application?
Can I
Okay.
ask one question? I don't know if this is the time. I was just wondering if a discussion on the timescale of when these are going to be built, is that part of this particular part of the meeting or not?
That's something that we really, I mean, there is a requirement that a permit be drawn once we have approved the certificate of appropriateness within 2 years. And there are time limits in which work will be done. Joe, if I understand correctly, really don't have any owners for these. Are they going to be built speculatively, or are you do you know if the I don't know who owns the property right now, if they plan on building or waiting until they have a buyer?
No, they are planned to be built on spec. We tend to pursue a building permit within the next week. And so I think the intent is to capitalize on the spring season here and break ground shortly after permit.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I live in the back of the Butterfield apartment, so I was just concerned with, it's just a very immediate visual for myself and those who live on the back of the building. So I wanted to see if I could understand what that was like, because it's, just a huge mound of dirt, and there was a big crane there for months. So just interested in that level.
Okay. Any other comments or question from the public? Going once, twice. Okay, with that, we'll close public comment on lot 2. With that, I'll open it to board members to see if anybody has any comments or questions.
I have none.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't either.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the application as submitted?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, so the motion for the application as submitted has been moved. I'll take a vote on that now. Andrea,
I vote aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Lloyd,
Aye.
and Todd,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. So it's approved 5-0. Joe, both of them have been approved.
Thank you very much, everyone. And I want to say I appreciate all your time and effort and going through this process. I think a lot of the feedback that you gave resulted in 2 better houses than we started with and a better overall composition. So we're very happy. So thank you again.
Great.
Well, and thank you for, cooperating and, listening to our concerns. Thank you very much.
Again, everyone.
Thank you.
Night, Joe. Thanks.
Okay, with that, we're going to now shift to old business, 212 Main Street. I guess that's
Um,
you, Roger.
Yep, good evening, everybody.
Hey, Roger, is Tanya joining as well?
Oh, well, she said she was going to, but I can certainly start. Now, let me text her real quick. Don't mind.
I actually thought, I misunderstood her email. I thought that you weren't available and only she was, but I think.
Yeah, it's the other way around. But well, I think she may be available, but I'm available. So
Yeah, Sean, I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was Tanya wasn't available,
Um,
but
Okay.
let me see.
well, either way, we can look at.
Okay,
Are you able to share them, Roger, or do you want me to pull them up?
sure, I can share the screen. So let's see. We can probably go to, let's start with the elevations. So after many meetings with the ZBA, you are now looking at an approved half-story addition. We went back and forth on a classification, whether or not it was a half-story, full story, but this is now a half-story. You probably recall or may not recall from our work session way back when, that this second-story addition had over. The entire ridge height is now lowered by over a foot. But the kind of intent is still there. With some trim work on the second story, the smaller windows on the south and north elevation. So that's probably an elevation you did not see. They're new.
How about the back elevation?
That would be this. This is facing the neighbor in the back. The west elevation. Actually, it says front, but it's the rear elevation. Sorry about that.
And what is that area, Roger, that whited out area? Is that,
I do not know. That is just like a piece of plywood that sticks out maybe 4 inches from the building with a little slanted piece on top. I have no idea what's behind that, but it's there.
okay.
You can see it in the photographs, John.
Oh, okay. I didn't think to look.
Well, I thought it was, I know in some of the older buildings, they often had, place where they had cast iron stoves, and that could have been that. But if it's plywood, then I would think not. But
I would like to remove it if we can, when we kind of explore a little bit more about it, just to kind of clean up that back elevation.
how about the front elevation?
Oh, I see it. I see
Okay.
it now, yeah.
So in the front, we have the garage, and on the side,
Yep, that side would face, say, Main Street, that side elevation south.
right. Okay. Do I have a motion concerning the secret status of this?
I would consider this, sorry, Andrea, you can make.
No. Oh, okay, sure. I would move to classify this as a type 2 because it's a minor modification to an auxiliary structure.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. You're muted, Lloyd.
I tried to unmute. I guess I said it in between clicks.
Okay.
Aye.
So it's voted type 2, 5-0. With that, question for everybody, do we need to go to a public hearing on this?
I think that I wouldn't normally think that this is something that would require a public hearing. However, we did conduct a public hearing for a similar addition to the barn, or rather a reconstruction of the barn at 192 Main Street. And it's a pretty visible location from the streetscape. It's not, something that's tucked behind a primary residence. So
I agree. I think it's also a significant height increase for, a shed or a garage on a prominent corner. So,
Okay. Well, before we schedule a public hearing, do we have any comments or questions from the board members?
My only question would be on the rear side, if you are able to remove that plywood kind of bump out, I'm assuming you just are going to infill with the matching siding.
Yes, that would be the intent, yeah.
and the siding on the lower portion is just, you're just using the siding that's already there. You're not removing it and replacing it. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, so is that something that if you are able to patch in that back bump out, and I see that you're also going to be patching in the window, you may end up removing some of the boards and moving them around just so that it's sort of elegantly patched in, but ultimately you're preserving as much of the wood as you can.
Yeah, that would be our intent to do that. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So if anyone sees all of the siding taken off of this, they will know that it is being carefully stored and reattached.
Correct.
Okay.
I just want to ask about materials then. So the siding is wood and the trim also, but we should discuss the window and the doors as well, I think.
Right. Roger, have you submitted a cut sheet for the windows or the door in any of the previous iterations? I meant to look this afternoon.
Not a cut sheet. I mean, I just specify here the window type, A21 Anderson series, 400 series, and the verbiage here.
Okay.
The font series.
Does that match the windows that were used in the main house?
I believe they do. Yes, they're Anderson as well.
All right, I think if we go to a public hearing, probably, or even if we don't go to a public hearing, I think for the application, if you could submit us a catalog cut of the windows so that at least we have that on as part
Sure.
of the application.
Sure, I could do that.
Right. And can we just look at the front facade again?
I also have this. I'm kind of recall I did a little version of that.
Oh, to show the relative height.
Yeah, just without the overhangs and the
Right.
simplicity that is there.
So then, if you could go back to the photograph. Now, those carriage doors, they're not there right now, am I correct? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
That's right, yes.
Okay, so those are going to be new. We'd probably would like to have a catalog cut on those also.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that the thing that is the most unique about the design is the transfer between the horizontal siding up to this sort of molded, square molded siding around the window. Is that replicated on the back as well?
No.
So on the back, it's just going to be the straight siding, and on the front, it's going to be this decorative sort of
Right.
detail.
A little more interest to the front.
I guess I would just wonder how the rest of the board feels about it, because there is going to be a transition point, a horizontal transition between the lower story and the upper story as drawn. And then we're going to see some more of the siding, and then this, I don't want to say block work because that sounds like concrete, but this sort of square detail, framing detail is going to happen above a couple of courses of siding. It's, I think as drawn, it doesn't seem strange, but it's something that could be kind of more or less exaggerated based on how the whole thing is sort of painted and finished and everything else. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that.
Well, I'm just sort of curious, what is the material that is within the squares? I mean, to me, it looks sort of like half timber construction, but typically that's sort of a stucco finish within the squares. Now, is that what we have here, or is that painted plywood?
Yeah, that would be an exterior grade plywood in between all those squares.
So Sean, you're saying that you want to see some kind of break between where the square pattern ends and where the siding is?
Well, there actually is already a break.
Okay.
Right below the arrow, you see there's.
Oh, I see that. Right, I see that. So are you saying that you want another one?
I don't know. It was actually, it was more that there was going to be a break, and then the siding was going to continue to the bottom of the window.
Right.
It was just something that that struck out to me because, the way the house is painted, you have the house is dark navy or black, and then you have this really strong horizontal band that runs around it, which is going to be kind of similarly replicated here. But I guess it's just a question of the transition. You have a transition between similar materials and then less of between similar treatment, and then there sort of is no transition into the upper part.
Would you perhaps maybe prefer this grid work come all the way down to this band board and eliminate these three courses? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
I think, but I also, it was something that jumped out at me, and I was just curious if anyone else.
Yeah, Sean, I think I agree with you. I think really depending on the color scheme, which we have no purview over, it could be very exaggerated or very not exaggerated. And so I do think from a design perspective, it would be nicer for the kind of block grid trim that's up above to go right down to that 10-inch trim board that's splitting the lower story from the upper story, personally.
Yeah, I think I agree too. I didn't mind it at first, but as I considered what color it might be, again, we don't have purview over it, but as I considered that it's probably going to be navy and white also, well, that doesn't matter. Okay, we're not talking about color. I just think.
Roger, was there a reason to that we're not seeing to maybe do it the way you've drawn, or?
No, I mean, just kind of, we had just carried that lower sill of the window all the way across, and we just brought the siding up to the underside of that. But I mean, I'd be interested to see what it would look like with that grid work going down to that 10-inch.
Yeah, it may be, Roger, something that, I mean, not to belabor you with extra drawings, but it could be something as simple as just seeing them side by side and realizing that we're right or we're wrong. Because I think if it weren't for the transition between the stories, if it weren't for that wide band, I like that it's, I think it's more elegant to have the detail higher up and sort of off center, so to speak, vertically.
Oh.
But that band just kind of does create this additional line of detail.
I mean, it seems to me too, though, that Roger may have drawn it that way because if the square pattern continued down to the, band, the square wouldn't be the full size of the other ones. It'll get cut off, and will that be awkward?
Yeah, I would have to adjust all the proportions again of all the squares.
But yeah, that's what I mean, right? So I assumed that's why he did it that way. When I was looking at it.
Yeah, that's okay, because the upper portions where they become triangles or not true full squares are taller anyways, I think. So if they all shift up a little bit to even out the proportions, I don't think there's an issue with that. And they're not lining up in any real sense with the buttons on the windows.
True.
Right.
Okay.
To my eye, they're pretty close. But we'll see when it's drawn up.
Yeah, that's the only thing about, I mean, I think ultimately at first when I saw it in the context of the brackets and the wider second floor, and it seemed a little bit more sort of alpine, the whole thing struck me as very different from anything else that we see in the district or in the region. But with those other elements removed and it becoming more of a just sort of trim detail or differentiation, I don't have an issue with the concept of the blocks or the concept of the squares, because it doesn't seem overly fanciful or it doesn't seem quite so foreign, for lack of a better word.
No, I agree with you. It doesn't has something to do with the scale. I think the scale is much more appropriate now, without those brackets, without the side extensions of a foot or two on each side, and just the lesser complexity allows me to deal with the grid work more.
Right.
In a favorable way.
The window in the front, is that a casement?
Yes, it is.
All right, can you show the hinge with sort of the dashed line symbolism? But
Oh, okay, sure, for the swing.
yeah, I guess the other thing which you may want to do when you're fooling around with the configuration as far as the squares is the size of the window. I mean, my first impression is that it seems a little large, but it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
How does it compare with the window in the back?
It's the same.
Same size?
Yeah.
All right.
So I actually misinterpreted it. I thought that it was a French window. It's a single casement.
Double case.
No,
It's a double casement.
okay.
Oh, it's a double casement. Okay.
A large double.
I'm looking at it and it feels very different than the main house. The window does. Because I think I was just looking back at the photos. The main house has a 4/1. Is that right? Go back to that. No, it says like a 2/2. It's just much more complex, many more divisions. And also a variation from the double hung. I don't know that that's bad. I just am starting to think about that. I hadn't really noticed that before. Does anybody else have any ideas on that?
I don't mind the change to a casement from a double hung, Al. I think you might have a little bit of a point with the scale of it maybe being a little bit too big, but it doesn't bother me. I mean, I know they want a lot of light up there, so I think it's fine.
And Lloyd, I think as far as the light pattern is concerned, I'd have to look at them side by side, but in a way, because it is this double casement, to try to replicate the light pattern of the double hung windows, you're gonna have to kind of read it all as one unit as opposed to two units side by side. Do you know what I mean?
I hear you. I guess it
In a
makes
way, by making it kind of more, in a way, by making it more different from the house, it justifies it being a different type of window design.
Yeah, and I agree. Oh, sorry, am I cutting someone off?
I was just gonna say it makes me wonder about the choice of casement versus just another pair of double hungs. But it's not a big point for me.
I actually appreciate that it's casement because it does create a difference from the house. It's not part of the house. It's it's an auxiliary structure. And I think it reads more like, when you're looking at sheds and barns and garages, those are typically doors that slide or open out. So,
Right.
That's true.
And it relates to the carriage doors below and on the side. I think this is one of the instances where it can stand on it'll ultimately make more sense if it stands a little bit more on its own than if we try to relate it too much to the primary structure.
The one thing, Roger, just to take a look at is the height of the sill above the floor there. Looks like it's only going to be like 18 inches. Which,
Yeah, we've certainly tried to avoid the tempered glass rule, but it will be greater than 18 inches.
all right.
Okay, great. We are, let's see where we are. We're on the 24th. We have been,
Wait. You're jumping ahead
oh, I was just
because
proposing when a hearing could be held.
yeah. So the question was raised whether or not the application is ready for a public hearing. And so do I have any motions on that topic?
I think that the application is ready for a public hearing in concept, but there are just some material, there's just the cut sheets and things like that that Roger needs to provide for the public hearing to take place. And as far as the arrangement of the siding on the second story, that's a design detail that I think could be determined during the public hearing.
Right. From the sense I get from the comments, there is nothing which, there may be certain preferences, but there doesn't seem to be anything which would is a fatal flaw, which would cause somebody to vote against it.
No.
Yeah. So,
Not that I can say.
all right. So do I have a motion that we go to public hearing on this?
I would make a motion that we go to public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh,
All right, Todd seconded.
okay.
So with that, we'll take a vote on going to a public hearing. Lloyd,
Aye.
Andrea,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Great.
Okay, so any last comments? I guess, Roger, can you just sort of run through some of the photographs so that people will have a clearer idea of the context for this building?
I do not have the photos. I mean, you want to just,
All right, well, Sean, can you go into our G Drive?
Yes.
stop sharing.
Sorry, just bear with me. They're not opening. They're there.
Are we going to have Jeff give you a tutorial?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
There.
Which was the image you wanted to see?
Well, it just, scroll through them so that
Was
we
it
have
the-
an idea. Yeah.
Just flip them
okay.
all.
These were what was submitted with the original application.
Right.
So if there's more that we want to have included for the public hearing, we can.
Well, essentially, am I correct that what, for example, that side image, basically that single door is going to be replaced with siding, and where that window is, that's going to be a double door, 5 foot
correct.
wide double door. Okay.
That's correct.
All right. Next photograph. All right. And we're getting rid of that garage door, which is a good thing. All right. Next.
Is
Roger, is that retaining wall going to stay, or is that going to be removed as well?
I believe Tanya intention was to remove that wall as well.
All right, and obviously, since it doesn't extend over, there's not going to be an issue concerning access to the adjoining property.
Correct.
Okay.
And so this is the
Okay.
bump out that could potentially be removed. There also may very well be siding.
Yeah, it looks like it just goes behind it, right?
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out, if it abuts it or goes behind it. So you may not have to worry about finding extra material for that portion.
Mhm.
These aren't not immediate neighbors. These are just
Right.
other examples that Tanya submitted for two-story structures.
Okay, does everybody have a clear idea of what is being proposed in the context that it's in?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I-
Yes.
All right, so when, Sean, when can we schedule the public hearing?
Well, we had been scheduling the public hearings 3 weeks in advance because of the Zoom of it all. I think that we are far enough into this experience where it might not be necessary to do that anymore, and people will have plenty of notice if we do them 2 weeks in advance. And also, we have changed the schedule of postings in the papers. So actually, by doing it 3 weeks in advance, we aren't necessarily giving the public more time because the postings are being printed so much more closely to the day of the public hearing. So with that being said, I would propose for this and going forward, that we try to do things. We do not require quite so much time before the public hearings.
Well,
However, our next meeting isn't until the 14th anyway. So,
So it's
so
through, I was about to cut you off because it seemed like you were getting into a exposition on.
well, I
public
just want to,
hearings.
I want to be on the record of saying that I think we can schedule these things
2 weeks instead of
more
3.
in line with our regular meetings. This just
Okay.
happens to be the last month that'll probably have an effect for the rest of the year. So I would propose that we schedule the public hearing during our meeting on the 14th.
Okay, does anybody have any objection to that?
No.
Nope.
No,
Okay, so we'll schedule the public hearing for April 14th. And Jeff, you'll be getting the notifications, which we will put in the newspaper. And Sean, you'll go over with Roger everything else that he needs to do, the signs and the adjoining, letters to the adjoining properties and so on. I think it's similar to what you had to do for the ZBA, so.
Yeah, it's just the sign letters, and then we'll put the posting on the village website as well. So I can connect with both of you at the end of this week about that.
Okay, and also talk with Roger so that we can have a final set of materials, which would be on the village website for people to take a look at.
Sure.
All right, Roger, that would be the, the catalog cuts and any other information.
Yep, I got it.
Great.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Roger. Thank you.
Okay,
Take
good
care.
night.
Good night.
thank you. Good night.
Okay, public hearing. Okay, new business, 25 Garden Street. So that's Jacqueline Martino and Joanne Murphy.
Hello.
Hi.
I see we
Hi.
have Jacqueline.
Yes. Hi, I'm Jacqueline, and hopefully you can see a page from our proposal.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, we can.
Lovely. This is our home on 25 Garden Street, and our idea is to replace our covered front porch. Basically, the intention is for it to look as current, but with the proposal to change the spindle design. We found an American porch vendor that claims to be in period, so that would be the one visual difference that we're proposing. So I'll get to the catalog pictures in a moment, but unless you'd like to look at this image longer, I'll go to the adjacent. All right, no nays, so here we go.
No.
So to the left, we have 23 Garden Street, and to the right is the Garden Street entrance of the Catholic Church. Yeah,
Well, I guess, am I correct that everything is going to be the same except for the posts?
yeah, that would be our proposal, that we'd like to switch them to those cedar posts as shown in the previous. I can go back.
Okay, well, the reason I'm asking
Yep.
the question is because according to our code and the way we handle things, if you are replacing what is there with everything that is to match, then it's considered a repair and it doesn't have to be reviewed and approved by us. But since you're changing the post, I guess then we need to take a look at it. And I guess, let's see if we can keep this as simple as possible. Does
Thank you.
anybody,
Mhm.
does anybody have any objection to the replacement post? Well, and now just a question of terminology, because
Yeah.
you're saying spindle, and typically spindles refer to the pickets in a guardrail as opposed to a post. Are you replacing the spindles in the guardrail or the post that hold up the roof of the porch?
The spindles in the guardrail. So if I understand, a guardrail is that horizontal component,
Correct.
yes?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
So,
well, to be honest, we actually thought this was a repair, but if you want to.
Okay, I think we
Lost you.
lost you there.
Optimum.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Okay.
Ah, okay. Sorry, I think I was accidentally interrupting you, so I grew silent.
No.
Please
All
continue.
right. So we're talking about the spindles in the guardrails.
Correct.
Okay, anybody have, do you have a better image of what you have there currently?
You mean a better photograph?
Well, something, it's kind of hard to make out exactly what the spindle, the existing spindles that you have there now look like.
They appear to just be square cut.
Oh, they're just quite boring. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't know the fancy word, but they're just kind of boring square
Okay.
things.
Sorry, just to be clear though, you are replacing the entire porch, but the only design element that's changing is you are using these turned balusters instead of the square cut. Is that right? Or are you just replacing the guardrail?
Well, when you say entire porch, I'm not certain. The roof will remain the same. Those vertical, the roof would remain the same. And yeah, I think the horizontal pieces that you call the guardrail may or may not need to be replaced depending on how time has treated them. But the idea is that they would look as we have them today. We have no desire to change that look.
So you cut out there a little bit. So the tall white post with the little brackets each way, those are changing?
No, they are not changing.
Okay.
In fact, if I might go to fun fact from the design standards, this is our home
Yeah.
on page 28. And we're tickled pink that it's in there. And we love the way our home looks. So we're not really trying to make any dramatic visual change. We just thought since we're doing the work, it might be nice to use these different spindle shapes.
So when you,
Honestly,
Okay. Okay,
When you say spindle, then it's the lower, the rail portion then.
The short vertical bits.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Well,
Yeah,
I'm
sorry,
clear.
I'm just using the word as
It's the right
it's
term.
represented in the catalog. Yeah, are we all talking about the same thing now?
Yes.
Yes.
Andrea, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, at just my at first glance, honestly, you're looking at a beautiful, beautiful example of a, Gothic cottage. There's already a lot of scroll work. I mean, honestly, we included it in the design standards, obviously, originally, because it's such a beautiful example. I think the square posts are just fine the way they are. I honestly wouldn't introduce any more distraction from the beautiful barge board and the brackets that are already there and those posts that are turned. I just think it's, a lot of,
well, that and also the other thing to consider is the fact that I would say that the existing pickets are probably an inch by an inch, whereas these spindles that you're showing us, the top and bottom pieces are 3.5 inches. So it's bigger, and I don't know if it would fit within that horizontal component of the handrail.
it would also change the spacing of all those, yeah.
I think to add to that, if you're changing all those spindles to this different design, I think you're doing much more than a repair, and you would have to raise the height of the railing also to comply with current code. Whereas if you're just replacing what's there, repairing what's there with the square, which I agree is more appropriate and contrasts nicely with the other detail on the building that's already there. I think adding too much detail is going to detract from what's beautiful already. Anyway, where was I going with that?
It would have to raise the
Have to
guardrail
raise it if you're
to current code.
to current code. So I advocate just repairing what's there and keeping the simple profile.
And also that could affect the proportion of the posts themselves, because the posts are carved in such a way to accommodate the height of that railing. So if you did have to change the height of the railing, it could interfere with the design of the posts. What's the, other than wanting to change the look of it, what's the actual issue? Are the balusters rotted out, or do they need to be, are they missing, or what's the status?
Yeah, I don't think that there are any missing, but they've kind of, I don't know the formal term, so I apologize, but there's a spatial differentiation now, as opposed to being tight against that bottom rail.
Okay.
So I think that they need to be replaced with some other unit.
Okay, I think if that's the case, and if that's the only work that needs to be done, I agree with Andrea and Lloyd, and I would advocate that you maintain the design as it is and just replace missing spindles or bent spindles with a similar, replace only the ones that are damaged with a similar design, and leave those that are fine in place for as far as the integrity of the building is concerned.
I think you're going to change the scale of the guardrail significantly, such that the post will start to feel undersized. And right now they're perfect because they're larger than the rail spindles, and they do the job to hold up the roof. And they're going to start to feel. I'm getting more technical, but they're going to start to feel undersized. And I'm just looking back also, and this is something that you might find interesting, the history of the building. I'm looking at the state's website and the initial survey that was done of this, built in 1855. It's a contributing structure to the district, intact, excellent condition, one of the most significant Gothic revival cottage style houses in the village of Cold Spring, important period details. So this was the survey that was done in 1974. I think it still holds that it's significant and has some great details to maintain. I personally, I like all this history, and
It'd be fun to have a link to that if you could provide
I
at some point. We would love to know that. We really love our home, so.
I can
We
download
can
this.
tell.
Yeah,
I hope that we have encouraged that you just do a repair, because you don't need our approval on that as long as everything is the same material and the same configuration. If you're changing something, then we would have to approve it. And as you can probably tell, that we're really hesitant to change anything, because everything here is really beautifully done and beautifully maintained, and we think that we would be hesitant to make changes. So do you want to withdraw the application and as far as, since the only thing that you're asking us to look at is the spindles on the guardrails, which I think if you wound up going in that direction, you're going to wind up starting a whole list of unintended consequences as far as height of the guardrail, spacing of the pickets, and so on.
Yeah,
Right.
those are excellent points. I mean, we were actually pretty excited to come in front of this board because of all of the possible change. So if then we're not going to go with that proposed spindle change, I guess, we'll talk about that, but it sounds like we're trending towards just keeping the look and feel as is in a repair context and withdrawing the application and being able to move forward with our project. Did I understand that correctly?
You understood it correctly. Yep.
Lovely. Okay, so I don't know what the next step is. Do we have to formally withdraw, or how do we move forward?
I'll send a written notice to the building inspector saying that you've withdrawn your application. Now, I see from the other material in the application that there is other stuff that you're planning on doing, but since your intention is to rebuild it using the same material, we'll go ahead and make a call that this is a repair and therefore does not have to be reviewed by us. And once I issue that to the building inspector, it just becomes a question of working with the building inspector for your permit.
Okay, is that Charlotte?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. So,
Jacqueline,
yeah,
we actually just look at the drawing? If you could just scroll down into the drawing set that you submitted,
sure.
because there is, I think that it is just the way that the drafts person drew the brackets, but they are drawn quite simply. Are they called out as being the existing going back?
Well, so I'm a little concerned about the terms that we're using, because existing, wherein it's the existing design, right? Because if the material is compromised by age, which is basically why we're doing this, right? It's just time to replace the porch, right?
Right,
You can
right.
understand. I mean, when is the house from? And I'm sure the porch isn't that old, but still, everything needs attention. So I just want to make sure that we are aligned on the terminology, right?
Right.
If those things that I'm calling spindle, the vertical pieces, are not salvageable, because I heard someone say, well, you know, if there's a perfect one, then you want to keep that one, or something of this nature. I just, you know, the time and the energy and the expense that goes into any project is such that I would like it to last for another couple 100 years, even though I know that's fanciful.
Well, we agree with that, but I think scroll down to the next drawing. Well, it just,
Okay.
okay, so right there you have the post and the brackets.
Mhm.
And I think what Sean's question is that the way it's drawn, it's very simple and, does not match what is there. And we just
Right.
want to make sure that, okay, see, Sean, it says existing
It does say
porch
existing.
columns to
Okay.
remain.
That was, I was actually looking at it sideways, so it was
It
hard.
also should also say existing brackets to remain.
Okay.
It'd be nice
So-
also if it said
so
something, if it said something like, not accurately drawn,
Right.
automatically shown, all detail not shown on the drawing, or something to that effect. But I
Okay,
think
so-
it's important to me that those detailed posts remain, as well as the brackets.
Right, so Al, perhaps when you write your memo to Charlotte, you can also just reiterate that to her, that the, you
Well-
can put a bubble around page A2 and just,
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to touch the drawings because then, it has to be stamped and then it gets confusing. What I'll do in the building, the notice that I sent to Charlotte is that I'll verbally describe that what was drawn in the in the elevations is not accurate, but we understand, and it's noted on the drawings, that all of the existing porch and brackets and other visual elements are to match existing. And that's the reason why we're giving it a pass as far as it being a repair rather than an application.
great.
All right?
And
So,
Jacqueline, if once the project commences, if anything is uncovered and creates problems, or you do need to come back, then of course we are here to talk through any issues that may arise.
Okay, that sounds wonderful, but I still have that same area of non-clarity around the vertical pieces. So let's say, I don't know, you guys are better at this than me. Let's say there's 30 of them, and 28 of them have signs of like rot or some other compromised state. Getting 28 out of 30 new vertical pieces is still within the spirit of what we're talking about as a repair?
yes, because if you're replacing any component with identical material and shape, then it's a repair.
So, okay, great. Thank you for that. And then a next level of clarification, material, what level of hierarchy of material? So wood with wood, or fir with fir, pine with pine? What is the granularity?
I would say wood with wood.
Thank you.
On the replacement of the spindles, 28 versus 30, it's such a simple square profile that you could replace all 30. I think it's only worth saving if it's a more intricate profile, like maybe the
Yeah.
taller post, for example. Even though
Yeah,
those-
we felt pretty strongly about retaining those. We love them.
Yeah, good.
All right. Thanks. You guys have been wonderful, and sorry for not knowing all the technical terms and dragging you down on the timeline of your meeting with.
No, we don't expect you to know that.
Absolutely, absolutely no problem. And we wish you the best of luck with your project. Okay?
Thanks. And if anybody, yes?
Well, it just,
Please.
I'll be processing these over the weekend, so I'll email you the document that I'm sending to Charlotte.
Okay, lovely. And also as a bonus round, if you know anyone who makes these kinds of spindles, if we're gonna have to get them replaced, that would be great. Because we were kind of excited when we found this vendor that had, cedar and supposedly period appropriate. We've worked with Danes, for example, in the past, but if you guys have some, a short list of places we can look, that would be super helpful.
I think that if you look for any competent lumber yard or even, going online, you should be able to find something which will do the trick.
I'm sure Dave.
Because it's pretty straightforward. The spindles are pretty typical construction, so.
All right, I'm glad you have the eye for it. I'm just worried about going out on the internet and not finding the right stuff.
Look around for, if you look in the newspaper for local carpenters, that I have the same exact front porch and I found a local guy to make mine. Same thing, 1x1 spindle, 1x1 square spindles all over
All
the
right,
place.
maybe I'm
So-
gonna hit you up in a reply email then for that contact info.
Well, I can't recommend anyone personally as a board member, but
Oh,
if you ask around about local carpenters and you will find a good person because they do a lot of work around here. So
Okay,
yeah,
wonderful. Thank
You're
you
not
for
gonna
your
have
time.
trouble finding them one by
thank
one.
you.
So those are-
Bye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, new business, 207 Main Street.
Hey all, thank you very much for adding me to this meeting. Apologies all for the multiple emails.
No problem.
But I am clear now. Why am I now having issues sharing my screen? Of course. Desktop, open, allow, yes. I'm so sorry.
no problem.
Me3.
We have Zoom problems too.
No, I switched computers during all of this. Oh my goodness, why is this happening now? Apologies, hold on.
Well, Sean, can you
Yeah,
call it?
I can open it up. Hold on.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to switch to this one here. Why is this?
Where were you? 207? All right, I'm gonna open up the site plan first, and then we can look at the details of the fence. At least I think I'm going to. So there was a conversation that we had with the building inspector about the exact location of the fence as it pertained to the property line. And it seems that that has been addressed in this most recent update. So can everyone see the drawing?
Yep.
Yep.
And the thick line is the fence itself, and then these two arrows represent the gates. Is that correct?
Where's the existing fence? It goes straight back from the house, right?
Whoa. Okay, left the other one. Yes, there is the existing fence around the pool.
Okay, so let me open up the other.
Yeah, there's a photo of the back gate that has the fence in the background there. And that is my dog throwing up in the corner. And he's thrown up.
He's okay.
Yes. Yes, and yes, that is my Etsy fake foliage. So there you go. But you can see to the side there.
So the the right side of this image, we see the fence sitting on top of the stone wall. That's existing, correct?
Correct.
And then this is the new gate, and this is the new extension onto the left.
Exactly.
And then this is the second connection on the front, well, the sort of back of the house, but facing Main Street.
Correct. And that is not to scale, obviously. It would be 4 feet. That window is about 2 feet.
So it's a straight run. Do you have the, I don't think you actually submitted the cut sheet for the fence itself. What's the material of the fence?
It's aluminum.
It's aluminum, and it's, and do you have the size of the pickets and the rail?
It is the exact same dimensions. It's the exact same brand and dimensions of what's around the pool. I don't have those dimensions here. But I do have.
Actually, I remember this because I
Yeah.
remember when the application for the fence around the pool was submitted.
Oh, okay, great.
So wait, go back. Right there to the right is the, let's scroll up. Okay, right off to the right, that's the fence
Yep.
that we're talking about.
Mhm.
So the current part of the fence that's connecting what we're looking at to the house will be removed, or is that staying?
Staying. Everything is staying. I'm just enclosing the backyard.
Okay.
So there will be a fence between the backyard and the pool still.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
I need to keep that area clear of my dog and now enclose this side so he can dig holes on that side of the yard.
Find stuff to throw up.
Exactly. Oh, it's okay. He already ate it.
Can I ask about the plan of the fence? Is this back on the plan with the red lines? Sean, if you could go back to that. Are you there? Can you move back up, Sean? Optimum strikes again.
Oh. What is the question though?
Oh, there we go. He's trying to move around.
Sorry,
That's okay.
got
Can you
cut off.
Okay, can you go back? We figured. Go back to the plan with the red lines.
Side plan, right
Yep.
there.
Okay, this
Oh,
is
that's the old one though. That's the one
not
that goes
not
out.
the right one, so let me. Okay, here's the plan.
Does Al, maybe you know this, does the fence actually have to fall within the setback area? I'm finding the,
I don't think that's a setback. That was an issue. I think the dashed line is actually the property line.
And that is a point, well, that's the easterly line of, this was not brought to my attention when I purchased this. This came up when the porch project came up, that I realized that I didn't own parts of my yard.
Mhm.
And when I say own, like when I had a very visceral reaction when I was told that the fence is falling outside of my property line. When that if you guys are familiar with Main Street and Academy in my corner right there, that is, all green lawn and a sidewalk on Main Street and Academy that I, am charged with maintaining and keeping clear of snow and debris and all of that stuff. So yes, I understand. I have urgency to build this fence because I do need to contain my 100-pound dog in the yard. But if there is some way that we could just acknowledge the fact that I could just run the fence on Academy Street parallel to the stone wall, as opposed to cutting into the lawn, which is, again, not very wide, to accommodate what I feel is like some grandfathered in note on a site plan that is now, it just is what it is. And unless that I can't do anything, I would love the ability to build the fence parallel to the Academy Street.
I mean, not to dig into too much detail, it's actually a pretty common problem here in the village. People have had to, replace, front steps and crazy things like that happen a lot, especially on Main Street, because Main Street was realigned at one point. And I think that's what caused a lot of the weird property issues where the village
All right.
owns like your front stoop. And then you have to actually approach the village Board of Trustees, and you can buy that little piece of property. It is, it annoys everyone.
No, I understand. That is one of the, yes, in order for me to proceed with the porch project, I have to purchase the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but like the reality, real talk, what my yard is, the fence that I need to run, what is the difference if I build it, have it run parallel to that stone wall as opposed to cutting in 2 feet at a very awkward angle that I think visually is going to be awkward for just everyone to look at. My intention is to cover it with lots of landscaping, and that forsythia bush will eventually go over it, but it's just.
A lot of it goes back to insurance issues. The village, if your fence is on village property, then the village is responsible for it. And that gets into liability issues. So that's why normally it has to be addressed one way or another. You can either just leave it the way it is right now, or else you can purchase that section of land so that, it would all be under your liability insurance.
I
think to answer Lloyd's earlier question,
Yeah,
the
the
fence,
angles are all off for me. The angles of this new fence don't relate to. Maybe it's just the drawing quality, if you will. The front line facing Main Street is not parallel with that front property line, or the house. The side is a completely different angle. I'd rather see it either parallel with the straight bottom property line before it makes the kink at the back, or we could follow that property line exactly, follow Academy and then do a little kink. And then the back, it cuts back, the back line, the right side cuts back toward Main Street in a weird angle. I maybe there's some reason on site for that, but I find it.
Well, the back line along my driveway, yes, there is a reason for that, because that is the awkward shape of my driveway. And in order for me to fit 2 cars in there, that angle has to jut in. The trees that we planted are also at that angle. So we were trying to buy, the fence guy wants to square it off when he puts that gate in to visually. And yes, this is a very clumsy drawing. I used Preview's tool, line tool to show this. So I agree with you. We could easily make the line parallel to Main Street, parallel. And if there is any way that we could just extend the Academy Street sign so it runs parallel to the Academy Street, happy days.
well, that's
Yeah, I don't
unfortunately
think we
not
can
a decision that we can
from-
make. But
It's-
I think Lloyd, also in the photograph of the front, you can see that it's the Main Street facing run is following the brick, or following the stone wall at the corner of the house.
Okay,
So it looks, I agree that it looks awkward on paper, but I think with all of the other elements
okay.
in the mix, it kind of is following some other borders.
Mm-hmm.
And my intention is that you're not going to see the fence because, at least in the spring, summer, because it's just going to be, there's going to be land plantings on both sides.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have any, we can't base our decisions on vegetation because vegetation comes and goes. But I personally, just the design of the fence, I think it makes perfect sense to continue what you already have. And I think this fence has a very low visibility to it. So we appreciate that. Or I do.
Yeah, and these sort of black estate fences are very common all around the village.
Yep.
And there are historic examples of them as well. The only other sort of design element in question is that the gate is going to have that it's going to have that rounded top on the two gates. Is that right?
Yes, it's the same gate that's to the entrance of the pool.
And that's to match. Okay, so that's the reason behind that. Well, Al, unless you think that the application itself needs more documentation.
No, I don't. I mean, I think that it needs to be described a little bit more clearly. In other words, what I need to do is, state on the image that the new fence is to match the existing. Make that note, but otherwise, am I correct that we're going to follow the layout as you have it shown on the site plan right now?
Not unless you guys are okay with having it come outside of that line and be parallel to Academy Street.
Well, here's the thing. That is not an issue that we have any purview over. You can draw it that way, and we can review the application for its appropriateness as far as the appearance. But ultimately, the building inspector is the one who will issue you a permit, and she will point out the fact that you're building on village property, and that has to be resolved. So the question to you is really that would have to be taken up with the village board of trustees before it could be implemented. So if you're looking for the for the fence to be built, it may be delayed if you want to go outside the lot line.
All right, I hear what you're saying, then I would like to submit it the way it is right now.
The way it is right now. Okay.
Okay, so that's drawing number 3.
Yep.
B3.
So I would make a seeker motion that it's a secret type 2 because it's a nothing. It's a landscape feature.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jeff, that was 5-0. Okay, so now the application as modified, it'll be modified because I just put in the comment about the new fence to match the existing. Do I have a motion to approve the application as modified?
I'll move to approve the application as modified.
I'll second.
Okay, we'll take a vote on it. Lloyd?
Aye.
Andrea?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
And I vote aye. It's approved.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Over the weekend, I'll send it out. Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Now I think I understand the little ghost on the corner better.
Yeah, well, the thing is, okay, the ghost came from
Ghost.
Halloween, but I realized that I pre-visualized my dog. Because my dog is the spit of the ghost dog, except 100 pounds.
I thought he was maybe a protest ghost for that little plant.
Oh, that would have been better. Okay. I'll go with yours. Yes, that's a better take on it, and I'll get a little.
They're both good stories.
All right, cheers. Have a good night.
Okay, good night.
Take care. Good night. Thank you.
Okay.
We have some minutes to review. But I also just want to just give me 1 second to let John that we're going to be ready for him shortly. Oh, we actually have a second set of minutes too, because we were not able to vote on one last time because Lloyd wasn't there and there was only 3 people at the meeting. So maybe we can do that one first. It's, I don't know whether you actually sent them, Al, on to Jeff. It was for the 2/7 meeting. But if you did, then they hadn't actually been approved. So we can do that now. Okay, so let me share this.
All right, let me, I can take a look right now as far as the 2/7.
Yeah, 2/7. It was me, Andrea, and Lloyd. It was just the meeting that we had with Hannah a couple Sundays ago. We couldn't vote on it last week because Lloyd wasn't at the meeting and there was only 3 of us there, so we had to save it for today.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then obviously I didn't approve it, but one thing which I do want to point out is in the upper right-hand corner where you have the page numbers, it's January 27th.
It's January 27th.
Yeah, I'm looking at the draft that's in the G drive.
Oh, I don't even
Oh,
see.
that must be in the header.
Yeah,
There's page numbers?
yeah.
Oh, I don't see them.
I don't see it either.
Yeah, I don't either.
Where your cursor is, Al?
Well, I don't have, you know, you're not looking at my screen, are you?
No, I'm looking at my screen. Are you looking at my screen?
No, hang on.
It showed where you were putting your cursor, Al, because it's a shared document.
Okay, so you don't have the header that is on the minutes in the on the G drive.
No, I don't think so. I don't have any page numbers or anything. I am just, I can only see what everybody else can see right now.
Oh, I see it when I pull it up on the right side. It says 127.
Really? Can you try to delete it, Lloyd?
Yeah, you see it now?
No.
Hang on.
I can see you're there. Maybe this is a weird, like.
Well, what it could be is that in this particular mode, it doesn't show the headers and footers.
Oh, maybe.
I just got rid of it.
Okay.
That should be.
Show print layout.
How do you do that?
Okay.
We are in print layout. Oh, because you already deleted it?
Yeah, I just did it.
Oh, okay. So it's not going to be there. Okay. Well then, can I make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted for 2/7?
Okay. Somebody has to. Lloyd, you seconded?
Yes.
Okay, so neither I nor Todd can vote on this because we were not there.
I vote aye.
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 Okay, approved.
Okay. So then, hold on, just gonna let John in. All right. So then let's take a look at 3:10. I have already made some. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, it says 3:10:21. I've never changed that before, but I guess it hasn't mattered up until now. I just had some corrections for the time. It was missing a the. Does anyone have any questions? Did we actually do this out of order? Did we do board business before we looked at everything else?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the idea was to talk with Arlene before we got into board business and so that she could, go and do what she does on Wednesday evenings.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
But this wasn't the meeting that she was at.
That's what the
Hold on.
minutes
Okay,
say.
310.
The
I can tell.
meeting.
Okay, this is what confuses me. Sometimes Michael would write up the minutes like that, and I don't know if it was that he was putting board business first for a particular reason. The way that I'm looking at my notes right now that I took contemporaneously, monthly meeting 3/10/21, 7:05 we start. Lloyd's not there. Butterfield, we talked discussion about where garages are to be placed. So we talked with the architect Joe.
Joe,
Yeah.
Yep. And then we looked at 8 Kemble.
Right.
Front door, gutter and leader. Then we went to board business.
Yeah, I think he just copied and pasted his old,
Okay.
the
It
template.
confused me too, but then I didn't know if there was some, like he's more of an expert at writing the minutes than I am. And so I didn't know if that was intentional for some reason. So I
well,
left it.
but I do remember that we talked with Arlene first.
But not at this meeting. That was a
Not at that meeting. I was wrong about that. Not at that
Well,
meeting.
I think that's why it was incorrect, Al, because I believe that Michael probably just copied his template from the previous meeting where board business was first, but it was actually at this meeting, it was at the end when we normally do it.
All right, but then she only attended one meeting.
Right, that was the
Okay.
meeting that we had in February.
That was 2/24/21. We started with a workshop and additional voting session. We spoke with Arlene, then we reviewed 4151 Chestnut, Locust Ridge.
Okay, so then let's scroll down to just out of curiosity, because I remember it saying that we spoke with Arlene and that
No,
discussed the map created. Okay, never mind.
We
Right.
discussed the map she created. We didn't,
Right.
yeah,
We didn't talk with her.
we didn't talk to her. Right.
Okay.
so
With her.
does anyone have any comments on the old business? The 6163 Paulding. It was just, this was our last meeting that we had before, this was, he was just showing, we were just discussing what he needed for the public hearing.
No, I don't.
No.
For 8 Kemble, I just wanted to specify why the railing would not meet the code as far as we understood it to be. So it was just that the railing is too low and the balusters are too far apart. And also, I'm just removing the parentheticals for some of these because they're not really.
That last I would leave out because the door was not part of the application. And so therefore, I don't think that we should even mention it.
Well, I think that the record should show that we just talked about the door, but that he said it would be submitted as a separate application so that in the event that that door changes, it is clear that we had not approved changes to the door. But I guess if we feel strongly that we remove it, we can do that.
Well, it just, I'm not totally sure what the point is. I mean, we talk about a lot of things during the meeting and not necessarily document everything. I would say we can say, no, I mean, if you want to, we can say separate from this application, the applicant wishes to replace the existing wood door, period. This would be presented in a separate application because,
okay,
just keep it simple. I mean, let's not.
Door. Okay.
And wait, you got to get rid of that period, existing period would.
Oh.
There we go.
Okay, and then just again, removing these parentheticals. Any other comments for any of this?
Oh, wait, go up a little. A little more. Okay, A. Connor and Hannah Benson began taking photographs of the properties within the historic district. Thank you.
Okay, can I make a motion to accept the minutes, the minutes?
Do I have a second?
I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, done.
I think actually, yeah, did Todd vote aye?
I,
Yeah,
yeah,
he did.
Okay, and Lloyd was absent, so it's 4-0-1. Okay.
So there are two sets of minutes that I have to sign and forward
Yep,
on
and
to
you're
Jeff.
both on the drive.
Okay,
So I'd make a motion then to adjourn regular business before we go into our meeting with John.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Andrew? Okay. So Lloyd and Todd, you guys can go on to bigger and better things. We have to sit there here and talk to the lawyer.
Have fun.
all right.
All right.
I'm
Jeff?
dropping off also, unless you need me for this.
No, I think that essentially this becomes sort of an executive session.
Yep.
Talking with the attorney.
All right, Sean, it's in your hands and just to sign out when we're done.
Okay.